Connor McDavid finally scores. Stuart Skinner looks like his old self again. And a look at the standings heading into March as the Oilers finish February on a 2-game winning streak. That and more in today's day after discussion. Hello, hockey fans. Austin here, and welcome to today's video where I will be talking about the Oilers' 3-2 overtime win over the St. Louis Blues. For those of you who are new to the channel and for returning viewers, I do what's called a day after episode where I talk about the previous Oilers game the day after. And they're usually very formal with a variety of topics I discuss and talk about that aren't usually part of my regular post-game recaps. If you're an Oilers fan and you want to see daily Oilers content, you are in the right place as I upload every single day. So make sure you like the video and make sure you subscribe as we continue to build a terrific community here in 2024. Now, on to the topics I will be discussing in today's video. As previously mentioned, Connor McDavid finally scoring. He was scoreless in 10 straight games. He hadn't scored since the Vegas game on February 6th until last night's overtime winner. But he finishes the month with 2 goals and a whopping 25 assists for 27 points in just 12 games. Now, you might be thinking, holy smokes, has anyone ever had more assists in a single month of February than Connor McDavid? Well, the answer is there has. There is only one NHL player in NHL history to have more assists than Connor McDavid in the month of February, and it was Wayne Gretzky, who had 26 assists in 1985-86. Now, McDavid is only 9 points back of Nikita Kucherov for the NHL lead in points. Kucherov currently has 103 points. McDavid sits at 94. Also to note, Connor McDavid is on pace for over 100 assists this season, and if he were to hit that milestone, he would be one of only 4 players to ever accomplish that feat. The others are Wayne Gretzky, who did it 11 times. Yes, Wayne Gretzky. He accomplished the 100 assists or more in a season 11 times. That is outrageous. The other 2 players that have done it, Bobby Orr in 1970-71. He had 102 assists that year. And Mario Lemieux in 1988-89, he had 114 assists that season. If Connor McDavid ends up finishing the season not only as the Art Ross winner, but if he also does finish with over 100 assists, I do not care how many goals Austin Matthews has at the end of the season. Connor McDavid will be the Hart favorite by a mile in my personal opinion. Now, if Matthews were to hit 70 plus goals, he will join 8 others who have hit that milestone. So the 100 assists club is much more exclusive and much more impressive to me. You do get an award for scoring the most goals in a season, so Matthews can have his Rocket Richard trophy. And saying that, though, I mean, what these players are doing this season is unbelievable. I'm not trying to take anything away from Austin Matthews. If he were to hit 70 goals this season, I don't think we've seen 70 goals since probably Brett Hull in the 90s, I would think. That's just kind of off the top of my head. Now, the Oilers, they finished the month of February with a 6-5-1 record, but they have won their last 2 straight, and they sit 1 point back of Vegas with 2 games in hand. So let's kind of take a look at the standings here. If we look at the Pacific Division, Vancouver continues to lead the division. They are 38-16-7. They have 83 points. Vegas Golden Knights, they are 33-19-7. They have 73 points. And the Edmonton Oilers, 35-20-2 with 72 points. The Oilers do have 2 more wins than Vegas. They have 2 more regulation wins than Vegas, and they have 4 more regulation or overtime wins than Vegas. But because of the Bettman overtime system, Edmonton is 1 point back, but they do have 2 games in hand of second in the division. And I'm kind of hoping Edmonton can continue to push their way into that spot because I would like to have home ice advantage. And I think home ice would be very important, especially if Edmonton does end up playing the Vegas Golden Knights in round 1, which looks very likely at this point. Now, if we look at the Canucks here, Edmonton is 11 points back, but they do have 4 games in hand, and they have 1 more head-to-head matchup against each other. If you were to say Edmonton wins those 4 games in hand and then wins their next head-to-head, well, Edmonton would actually end up being 1 point behind Vancouver when all is said and done. So the Oilers still have a slim chance of catching the Canucks for first in the division. It seems unlikely, but you just never know, especially with the way Connor McDavid has been playing. Now, my next topic I wanted to talk about is goaltending. Stuart Skinner, he has won his last 2 starts. He has stopped 70 of the last 74 shots that he has faced. and that adds up to a .945 save percentage. I would like to think that his post All-Star break woes are over, but he has started 42 of Edmonton's 57 games, and burnout is a concern that I have heading into the playoffs. It would be nice to see Calvin Pickard get a few more games here and there. Not saying that Skinner will be burnt out by the time the playoffs hit, but if Edmonton were to decide, and it does sound like the team, the organization, they don't really want to make a trade for a goaltender. If that is the case, they're going to have to start load managing, in my personal opinion. If you're not going to be willing to go out to grab another goalie to help Stuart Skinner out, then you should probably start load managing now while the team is in a good playoff position. They're in a solid playoff position. And unless they go on a crazy, horrific losing streak, and I'm going to knock on wood, they should be a playoff team. Now, once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. Any goalie can just suddenly go on a run. I do believe that Stuart Skinner can be the guy as long as you have a good foundation in front of him. Speaking of a good foundation in front of Stuart Skinner, that leads me into the trade deadline and the targets in order of importance to me. As a fan, I think the top three most important. Now, this is in order. So, most important thing I think Edmonton needs is a top 6 scoring winger. Yes, you may look and go, well, Edmonton scores 3.5 goals per game. They are 4th in the league in goals for per game, blah, blah, blah. Hey, listen, I totally get it. Yes, they score goals, but their finishing is lacking. They have scored almost 20 goals less than expected based on their opportunities that they have. A top 6 scoring winger is required, in my opinion, and I think the reason why Draisaitl and McDavid have been getting played together a little bit more lately is that Draisaitl, he doesn't have wingers to play with that can finish. Now, him and Evander Kane, they just don't work well together. Evander Kane is a finisher, but when those two are on the ice together, good things don't usually happen. Puck usually ends up in the back of their own net, so that's usually not a good thing. Now, I also believe the Oilers need a top 4 defenseman to replace Cody Ceci. I don't think Cody Ceci should even remain on the team at this point. I've been very vocal about my opinions of Cody Ceci, and more specifically the Darnell Nurse and Cody Ceci pairing as like a whole. Nurse and Ceci together, they continue to struggle, not only in the advanced metrics, but even just regular metrics, regular old goals for and against, and it was even more obvious during the last 2 playoff series. Ceci and Nurse have been outscored when on the ice by a massive margin at 5-on-5 in the last 2 playoff seasons. So if Edmonton were to go into the playoffs with that pairing again 3 years in a row, that is an absolute failure on management, in my opinion. You need an upgrade on Cody Ceci. Now, there are names out there. We know Chris Tanev just got dealt to the Dallas Stars, so he's off the board. I never really thought that was a realistic trade target for Edmonton anyways. I didn't think Calgary was willing to trade him to a division rival, and if they were willing to trade him to a division rival, they were going to ask for a very large sum of parts and pieces for him. So what Dallas ended up paying, it looks pretty cheap on paper for the most part, and I've seen a lot of Oilers fans go, well, why couldn't Edmonton have paid that? Well, I'm sure Calgary was asking for a lot more from the Oilers because they're literally a division rival. So Edmonton does need a top 4 D-man. I'm not a Cody Ceci hater, but I am someone that acknowledges that Cody Ceci in the top 4 is detrimental to the team's success. And once the playoffs start, you can't have him anywhere near the top 4. If he's still on the team, he's got to be third pairing. That's just all I'm saying. And then the third most important thing to shore up at the deadline would be a goaltender if needed. Now, if for some reason between now and the trade deadline, Stuart Skinner gives up 25 goals in his next 3 games and it's just an absolute disaster, well, yeah, you make a trade for a goalie. But I think the team, because goalies are a little bit harder to come by, there's a little bit less on the market to choose from, and the ones that could make a big impact on the team, the cost for a goaltender is very high. If you were to go after an actual starting goaltender, well, a lot of teams, their initial ask is going to be, okay, well, if I'm giving up my starter, we want Stuart Skinner. You're not trading Stuart Skinner. That's just an unrealistic expectation. But if there is a backup available, or if you can get someone like Kakinen out of San Jose or Blackwood, or, if you can find a potentially cheap option that can, help Skinner out, take the workload, possibly start a playoff game or two. If for some reason Skinner starts to falter, that would be optimal. But when I look at this team's needs, a top 6 scoring winger and a top 4 defenseman are much more important. And I think it's much more important to spend the assets on those two things over goaltending. Now, my closing thoughts here. Basically, I didn't like a lot of what happened in February with Edmonton, but there's a lot of positives heading into the month of March, heading into the trade deadline. The big thing here is making sure Edmonton gets off to better starts. Starting games is still a problem. The Oilers seem to continue to fall behind in the first period, and then they have these humongous, miraculous third periods that push them either into overtime or they just get the outright win. This is unsustainable moving forward. They need to start playing games right from puck drop. They need to start scoring first. Playing from behind regularly is not a good thing. So better starts. Chris Knobloch, he's been a little bit better with his lines. The last 2 games, the line shuffling hasn't really happened. The only thing that I've really noticed is I will see Holloway every now and then bumped up playing with Nugent Hopkins and Evander Kane every now and then just to get him a little bit more ice time. I would like to see Sam Gagner just a little bit more, but I'm just biased because Sam Gagner is my favorite player. But other than that, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to discuss in the day after the Oilers 3-2 overtime victory over the Blues. If you like these videos, if you like these longer form videos, make sure you hit that like button. If you really like them, make sure you hit subscribe. As a reminder, I do always upload every single day. So if you are an Oilers fan or just a hockey fan that enjoys the Oilers content and you want to see a lot more, there's always content here on the channel for you, and you are always welcome. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Make sure you check out my socials. I will have them in the video description. And as always, thank you so much for your support. It means a lot, and I will see you guys tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to have up tomorrow, possibly a power rankings. I'm not sure yet, but we will see. Take care, guys. Enjoy the rest of your, what day is it today? Thursday? Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Take care.